Alright, this is going to be a quick video on this $120 1990 Toyota Corolla with 86,000 miles. Now forgive the absolute mess of a garage here. I've got another vehicle that I just pulled in here that doesn't quite fit, so I had to move some stuff around to get it to fit. And we also just moved into the house, so I haven't built shelves or really a proper workbench or anything yet. But check this thing out. It's pretty dang clean and in pretty darn good condition as well for, for being $120 Corolla here. Let me set this inside. Now they continued this for quite a few years later, but this little extendy radio antenna that tucks down into the A pillar, I think that's kind of neat. And then something that's very quirky is this right here. So it has a 3-point seat belt with 2 separate belts. So you've got one belt that goes like that to there, and then that belt comes all the way up around and plugs into that. So if you want to get out, you have 2 clickers that you have to disengage. But I mean, look at this thing. Other than the spiders that are living in my garage here and setting up shop in the Toyota, it is in good shape. Go ahead and pull the trunk here. It's got a set of 4 super expensive high-class plastic hubcaps. Those don't come cheap. Trunk's in pretty good shape. The spare tire is down under there, but honestly, I'm too lazy to show you. And all the doors work. I mean, all the windows work. Manual windows, of course. But this thing, it is a neat car. Ooh, I just realized something I forgot. So again, I apologize about the mess in this garage. It's not supposed to be like this. But I picked this thing up non-running. The guy I got it from didn't know what was wrong with it. And he was completely looking in the wrong area too. I don't want to lose that, so that's not going with the car. My Prince tape deck that I got with the car ain't going with the car. And also, I appear to now be missing this little bezel or whatever it's called that slips in right there, but that's fine. I had to put in a new ignition lock cylinder. But 86,640 miles. And all the speakers are totally fried. The fuel gauge does not work, and I bought it non-running. Like I said, the guy did not know what was wrong with it. And these are some real janky, real messed up. Basically, when you set these down, this part moves, but not the rod that keeps it in place. They're toast. But anyway, the guy, he said that, oh, well, I tested the fuel pump and it seemed to test out well and blah, blah, blah. So let me squeeze out of here again. So him telling me that made me assume that, there we go, made me assume that it was a fuel system issue. But that was not actually the case. Oops. I left a screwdriver in my $120 Toyota. I better test close the hood. Well, not test close it all the way, but there we go. It's lining up again. It was up on that back passenger side corner of the hood. Alright, there's that. So, I wish I had taken the time to take a video while I was working on this. I've been crazy busy. But I'll go ahead and start it for you anyway. So put that in there. And I'm sure before this thing sells, there's going to be some more tools. Got a little pencil right there. Just toss that in the engine bay of the Dakota. I'll go over that next. That was my $150 purchase. That, I want to spoil it so bad, but I'm going to leave it. Anyway, I wish I had taken a video of this while I was working on it, because I would have had the valve cover off, and although it's not a big pain in the butt to do, I've got other things I need to be doing right now. Anyway, so underneath here, you know, it's a four valve per cylinder engine, and on these 3 cylinders, so the guy told me that when he bought it, it had been sitting for about a year, maybe more, and then he bought it, kind of tinkered with it a little bit, and then let it sit for an additional year. And the tires definitely can show that. I don't know if it's coming through real good right now, but anyway, those are nearly brand new tires. However, they have lots of deep cracks. But turns out on these 3 cylinders, cylinders 2, 3, and 4, interestingly enough, one intake valve, actually the driver's side intake valve of each of these was stuck open, presumably due to sitting and just corrosion or whatever. And so that's why it wouldn't start. Now, he was checking out the fuel system. I will say there was a little leak right here on this hard line. That stuff that I put on there sealed it up perfectly. That is some amazing stuff, by the way. I'll go into that in another video. But one intake valve on each cylinder was stuck open. And this thing's kind of a pain in the butt to get up. But maybe if I can, no promises. One-handed too. Maybe if I can't, there we go. So when we first started working on this, I am very disappointed in myself for not noticing this myself. But you can see here, I've got this in a wide angle, my camera here, so it's not going to be super crisp and high definition up close, but you can still see burn marks, burn. A friend of mine noticed that when we started working on it. And so without even having tried to start it at that point, I immediately knew that, of course, it was backfiring through the intake. Didn't know that it was caused from the valves yet. Found that out shortly thereafter, the following day. And because what we did is we were checking the fuel injectors, spark plugs, of course, and the distributor. We pulled the distributor off and checked it out. We thought that maybe the guy had pulled it off and flipped it around, put it on wrong, but you actually can't do that with this distributor. It will only go on one way. Another interesting thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from my research and me looking around, this vehicle does not come equipped with a crank or camshaft position sensor. I believe that is because it doesn't have a tack, so there's that for the crankshaft, but the distributor is connected directly to the camshaft, so there's no real need for one as far as timing goes. We were thinking maybe that sensor was out and that was causing it to send the wrong signal at the wrong time, whatever. But that's not the case. No. Turns out we pulled the valve cover off, and I still, embarrassingly, but I'll admit it, I still did not notice the stuck valves until after I borrowed a compression tester and did a compression test on all 4. That one had 150 PSI, so that one was perfect, and then the other 3 had 0. And then as soon as we finished testing the last cylinder there, number 4, and it came up 0 as well, I looked down, boom, staring at me right in the face with the stuck valve. So I since filled each cylinder, took the spark plugs out, filled each cylinder with Marvel's Mystery Oil and maybe 2 ounces of Seafoam and 2 ounces of WD-40, and kind of swished it around in there. And then I would jump on the car and make it swash around in there and all that sort of stuff. And I also got that mixture as well as a whole big can of WD-40 throughout the process. But on top of the valves themselves, this has got lifters on top of the valve. So what I did is I took those off, and then on the top of the valve stem itself is I used a little flat-headed punch and a mini sledge, and just kind of lightly tapped them over and over and over again across probably a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. And the reason I did that for so long is I let that mixture sit for 2-3 days while tapping it here and there and working it. But I think it was one of the end ones, because this one is still stuck entirely. Cylinder number 3 is still completely stuck. But one of the stuck valves started to free up. Wasn't completely free, but it started to free up. And so that just gave me hope and made me not want to give up on it. In fact, oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, it looked like that was just sitting there. I thought maybe that was an injector plug I left unplugged. But anyway, so one of them started to free up, and then another started to move a little bit. And again, number 3 never really moved. But I decided to, surprisingly, I didn't have a torch in my inventory. So I went and picked up a cheap little propane torch at Walmart and was very cautious because this is an aluminum head engine, and I didn't want to, cause any damage there because it was, anyway. But with light and precise use of the torch, however you want to put it, I was able to work it with the torch, WD-40, and a little bit of force, again, over and over again until I had 2, what I assumed were free valves, cylinders 2 and 4. So I went and put everything back together, started it, and it went straight back to just backfiring out the ignition or the intake and would not run, because this will not run off one cylinder. Take the valve cover back off. Turns out that the 2 valves that I'd freed up were stuck again. So I was like, screw it, it's time to get rid of it. So I just kind of left it like that because I didn't have time to put it back together that night and didn't have time to clean it up yet. And so came back out to it after work the following day. So it had been close to 24 hours. And the 2 valves had come back up all on their own with no work for me. I also forgot to tell you I didn't just leave that fluid inside the cylinders. I've got a little pump, a little hand pump that I sucked that concoction out of the cylinders before I tried to start it. And that made quite the smoke screen when it did start, which is later on. So those valves freed up again. And what I decided to do was turn over the engine with the valve cover off, or with the valve cover off, and see if they were going to get stuck again. They did. Well, the following day, same thing. Got home from work, they were freed up again. So I would just try to start it, same thing, and I did this about a total of 3, maybe 4 times. Well, finally, I had the time. I was going to come out here, clean the thing up, and put it up for sale because I was buying this thinking low mileage Toyota. It's going to be something simple. And it still is relatively simple. This is an easy engine to work on. Space is a little tight over here for taking all the stuff off, but still pretty dang easy to work on, really. But I've got so many other things going on. I've got an Excursion that needs a front end. I've got an Infinity that needs an EGR valve, a map sensor, and one of the bushings in the rear suspension is starting to make a little bit of noise. Not too bad, but it's starting to. And then I've got a Ford Fiesta that needs to. And then of course this guy. But I've got a lot of stuff that needs attention, and this would be a little bit more of a project than I was wanting to do. I did not want to take the head off to free those valves, so figured I'd sell it. Well, the night that I was going to tidy it up, take pictures, and put it up, I decided, what the hell? I'm going to give it one more try to start it. Go in the interior, or go inside, go ahead and turn it over. Boom! That's an exaggeration, but nonetheless, it started right up. It was running on 3 and then 2 cylinders, and it will still start up. It still only has 2 cylinders, though. I don't care. I'm going to leave that out for the moment. I'm not going to let it run for very long. But all this crap everywhere in this garage. I need shelves. I'd kind of like a bigger garage, too, because that Dakota does not fit. But anyway, see if you can hear how amazing these speakers are. Let's see. Push. There we go. Oh, that's right. Uploading stuff on YouTube. You can't really have songs. So, all right. I don't know if you heard that, but that was a backfire through the ignition. That's because cylinder number 3, one of the intake valves is still stuck open. But there you go. No tach, so we don't know how fast it's running, but there we go. So that is my $120 Toyota. A couple things came with it, I will say. We had some polishing compound, also had an AC recharge kit and a couple cans of Freon, so that was fantastic. And yeah, so this car worked out. I did have to buy a new I think it was $82 after tax Walmart battery. That, depending on if somebody wants to screw me down on price, I might just keep that. But otherwise, you know, I'll get my money out of it. And I would have liked to have made it run. I was thinking of maybe giving it to my mother, because where she lives, her vehicles get used, abused, and just beat up. So I was thinking, send this thing out to the farm. But that's just more work than I have time to do. And same with this Dakota. You know, we'll see. We might send this out to her too. But it's pretty rough. And it's got 187? Yeah, so almost 190,000 miles. And this Dakota is a video for another day. This thing is just, again, another situation of I really, really, really should have taken a video of this when I first got it, because this thing was so bad. Following behind this, my buddy that followed me home when I drove this back, was surprising this thing even drove. He said this was the smelliest damn vehicle he's ever followed. But anyway, that's not the focus of today's video. It's this nice little Corolla that I'm just now finally having time to record. And I wish I could have recorded more of the adventure with this thing, but it's a nice little car. It's pretty basic, but still, it has a lot of potential to be a good car for somebody without 5 or 6 vehicles that all need their own levels of work. You know, somebody where this is going to be their first or not first, like as in first car in their lives, but their one and only car, or maybe a second car where they have time to actually work on this thing. This would be a great car. This will be a great car for somebody. It's in excellent condition for the price and age. And I believe it was elderly owned. The reason I say that, at least initially, is because it has receipts from Arizona and receipts from Florida. Those are 2 retirement states. So, thanks for checking this Corolla out. Again, I apologize. There was so much more so many more videos, plural, and so much more I could have gone over with this car with you. This one's been an adventure, because there's, like I said, there's a lot. Every car's got its story, and that's part of the reason I love cars so much. But I'll try to be better with this Dakota, and I'll make a video here in a day or two on it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next vehicle.